Oh man, I reckon this could be the worst video I've ever made on this YouTube channel, but we'll roll with it. We'll roll with it. So since my last video, I've been abroad on a wonderful holiday in Portugal, and I've also been on a stag do. And the stag do, man, has proper written me off. I've had a bad couple of days, ill, proper like couch bound, and today I'm feeling a lot better, but I still can't bring myself to go out with the camera. So I thought I'd have a little chat about gear in the gaff. I never talk about gear, to be fair, so I do like throwing a few of these in on my YouTube channel anyway, and I thought it'd be better than not releasing a video at all. So I'm going to talk you through, what's in my bag. It's going to be that sort of video. And I also want to mention probably 4 pieces of gear that, as far as I'm concerned now, after a good few years of doing landscape photography, are pretty much essential to every single photo shoot that I go out on. Now, before we get into the first bit of gear, which is of course going to have to be the main stills camera, I'm fairly minimal. A couple of things to mention. I'm fairly minimal as it goes with my gear as a landscape photographer. I'm not that bothered about gear in general, in the sense that I kind of get what I want. I get to the point where I feel like none of my gear's holding me back, and then I don't really upgrade stuff that often unless things break. And thirdly, I have the same stuff in my camera bag every single time, no matter if I'm going 10 minutes down the road locally, no matter if I'm going up to the top of Scotland, or even if I went abroad, it'd be the same stuff every time. So what you're seeing now is everything that I take out with me. A couple of bits of videography gear as well, I suppose. But yeah, first thing first, the Nikon Z7. I won't go into too much detail because I do talk about this in other videos. I've had it for about 18 months now. Massive fan, fantastic camera for landscape photographers. This is the Mark 1, by the way. There are a couple of things that I'm not mad on. Again, I've mentioned them before. I don't like the fact that you can't get all of the icons off the LCD screen so you can compose properly. That's a nightmare, proper daft. The flip screen's brilliant, but you can't. It's kind of useless if you're in a portrait orientation, a low or a high angle. But all in all, an absolute beast of a camera, and I don't think I'll ever upgrade it until it breaks. I don't really see why I would. Now, to the first sort of essential piece of gear, what I mean by this is like stuff that I guess I didn't have when I first started out doing landscape photography for a couple of years. I got them, and then one of those where I can't imagine my photography career without them, if that makes sense. First thing is this 24 to 200 millimeter lens. So it's a variable aperture, f4 to f6.3, and I love the versatility in focal range. Once again, I talk about this loads on my YouTube channel. And when I talk about this lens, I don't mean this exact lens per se. What I mean is having, a lens for landscape photography that is so incredibly versatile in its focal range. I would never be without this sort of thing. Even if I completely change systems, change brands, I'd get something quite similar, This has been absolutely class. I've just got like a 2 lens setup in my bag. Comes back to me being quite minimal. And yeah, this is basically on my camera the whole time. Anyway, moving on to the other lens, the second lens. This is my 14 to 30 millimeter f4 wide angle lens. Definitely don't use this little beast as much as I'd like, as much as I should. I think that's probably unfair to say because you just photograph what you like photographing, don't you? I think if you're not using one of your lenses, there's nothing wrong with that. I just prefer the focal lengths, between 24 and 200 millimeters, especially for me, the longer ends of the 24 to 200. But yeah, I do love using this beast out on the coast, or if I'm wanting to get close to some foreground objects, that sort of thing. It's a bit of a classic landscape photography lens, isn't it, really, at a wide angle? And it's nice and light as well in my bag, which is fantastic. Actually, let me talk about... have I spoken about any bits of gear? No, the L bracket. So this is the first piece of, let's say, like I said, essential pieces of gear that I'd never be without going forward. It's the second one, isn't it? Freaking hell, man. I just mentioned the long lens. Right. Bear with me. This is the second one. The L bracket. Definitely not necessary. Definitely not essential, as it goes. But for me, saves a lot of faffing about between getting from a landscape orientation to a portrait orientation on your tripod. It's not the end of the world, because if you've only got you know, a normal tripod plate, you can just pop it on and then sort of go like that, you know. You all know the crack, but I do like it for ease of use, and I also think it adds a little bit of extra protection maybe to the camera, just having this kind of like big metal L-shaped bar along the bottom and along the side. But yeah, I'd never be without these going forward, L brackets. It's the first, or the second thing I buy after I buy a new camera, lenses, L bracket. Beast. Right, filters. Right, let's go into the filters. Because to be honest, I haven't really got that much gear left. Photography gear anyway. Again, I speak about these loads. I don't really use my filters quite as much as I used to. But I've basically got the polarizer, which you can see there, the silver one. Then I've got a 3-stop ND filter, a 6-stop, a 10-stop, and a 15-stop. I reckon, to be fair, I should probably just stick with a 10-stop. If I wanted to be even more minimal, I'd just have a polarizer and a 10-stop ND filter. These are brilliant. Like I said, I don't use them as much as I used to. Probably would never be without the polarizing filter, to be fair. That is an absolute beast. And yeah, just Nissi. I've used Nissi since the first filter that I bought was Nissi. Fantastic quality, never had a reason to change or anything like that. To be fair, I'd never be without them in the bag. I just think my style's changed a little bit, you know. I'm not as mad into like long exposures and all that anymore. Now, let's move on to this, because this proper excites me, man, my tripod. I've had this for longer than my Z7 now. I think I've had my Z7, like 18 months. This must be like 2 years, maybe even a bit longer. Best tripod I've ever owned by a mile. So it's an iFootage, what we're talking here, Gazelle TC6S, as you can see there. And this is just quality. Let me just mention as a bit of a side note, I don't really look after my gear that much. You know, I'm not the type of person to take apart my tripod and clean it in the bath. I think that's good. That's what you should do. I'm not mocking people that frigging do that. I don't know why. Probably just a bit lazy. But this tripod, I'd like to think, is testament to the amount of nonsense that I've put it through. It's still just in such good condition. Does everything perfect. I love the fact it's only got the two sort of lever lock things there, whatever they're called. And there's 3 things that I wanted to mention about it, because I never talk about my tripod. Firstly, I think this is pretty cool. You can see these rubber feet, but you can screw them down to reveal the spikes, which is pretty cool. So you don't have to have the spikes like, you know, separately in your bag. They're always there. If I'm being honest, I never really use the spikes, so it's probably a little bit wasted on me. I just always have it on the rubber feet mode, you know. But yeah, I just think that's a really cool feature. Probably the best thing about this is how it's got a removable center column. So you just unscrew it from the bottom here, and then you can just, you know, take it out, lob it to the side, and it just means you can get a really low angle down on the ground. You can get pretty much that far from the ground, however big your ball head system is, you know. That is class, man. I think that's brilliant. And then finally, mentioned this before as well, but this bowl head system. So you've got this lever here, you unlock it, and then you can move your tripod head sort of thing in this like this mad logistical way, and it's so that you can really level things out. You can see probably the little spirit level there. You can level things out if you're doing panoramas. So extremely useful for that. Means you don't have to faff around with the legs. Moving swiftly on to probably more videography gear now, but this is my drone. This is a DJI Mini 3 Pro, absolute beast. As you can see there, it says 249 grams or whatever. This is class, man. I really liked the controller more than anything else. It's got the screen kind of built into it, rather than, you know, I used to have to faff around with my phone and stuff like that. I absolutely hated it. Excuse me. But this is great. Like I said, more videography. I should use it more for stills, absolutely, because obviously with a drone, you can get any angle that you want. So again, like, you know, a few features of my tripod, probably a little bit wasted on me. It's probably the piece of gear that I'm always thinking most about, like, I should use it more, you know? I should use it more. Maybe I'll get around to it one day. So we'll continue with the videography gear. The camera that's filming me at the minute, I'll get onto that in a second. But I do also use a GoPro Hero 8 Black as well. This is class, brings a different dimension to my videos. It's really good to use if it's proper nailing it down outside as well, because it's waterproof. But I bought this recently. This is really cool. I think this will interest a few people. It's just like a little collar that you put on. It's magnetic, and then I got this attachment for the GoPro that's just basically a really strong magnet as well. And it clips on like so, and then you can get this kind of like, you know, first person view with the GoPro. Again, I just think it's really cool to add something different to my videos. But that's well good. By the way, all links to everything that I talk about in this video I'll put in the description. But there's nothing to it. It's just like a little magnet collar thing, but really strong. I have it underneath my shirt, so it's always there when I'm out and about. And I just find it better than the ones that you have to clip in, like the big straps that you have to wear and all that. So that was a really good purchase, actually. Now, let me talk about... I'll tell you what, I'll talk about my bag at the end. Let's get everything out of it first. My microphone system. These are DJI microphones. I can't even remember what they're called, man. Hang on. They're just called DJI mics, believe it or not. But yeah, these are ace. Comes with a little charging case. I try and take the audio of my videos really seriously. I've got one on here that you can see as well. I find it's a bit of a never-ending battle with wind and being out in weather, but good audio is incredibly important, and this has definitely been the best thing that I've used so far for my voice and for like ambient sounds as well, you know. Backup microphone. This is like a Rode, Video Micro, Rode Video Micro. So this is a good backup. Not great in high winds, even with the big massive wind muff thingy, but yeah, a good little backup and perfect to use if there's not too much wind, like, you know. This is just a little light, Ulanzi, little LED light. It's good if I'm doing videos first thing in the morning when it's a bit dark. We're not far off finish, you know. I'll show you the bag. So this is the third bit of, let's say, essential gear looking back that I'd never be without. I had rubbish bags to start off with, man. This is the Mindshift Backlight Elite. As you can see, there's the sort of model name there. Goodness me, man. This is such a good bag. This is the 45 litre. I've also got one upstairs that I don't use as much anymore, my older bag. This is a really big bag, like 45 litres, it's a mammoth. But I don't mind having a big bag. It's more the stuff that's in it, if that makes sense. I'm not bothered about the large bag on my back, the form of it. It's more the weight, if that makes sense. I'd rather have extra space for food and jackets and stuff throughout the day if I'm out on a hike or whatever, you know. But yeah, the third piece of like gear that I'd never go back on, and that is just not necessarily this bag as such, but just having a really comfortable backpack, you know. It's so important, and having somewhere to store your gear properly, well organised. You can see it's a bit rough and ready. I've had some really good use out of this bag. I've had it over 2 years now, but it's just class, man. It's so good. Perfect amount of space for, like I said, jackets, food and stuff. It's got this kind of compartment as well. That's something I always used to struggle with at first. And then the top bit, you can see a few bits and bobs. That's just where I keep like first aid kit, tissues, head torch, a little water filter, that sort of thing. And they never come out, you know. Absolutely class. Now, also, fourth piece of essential gear is this, man, the Peak Design clip. Admittedly, I probably use this more for my video camera, which I will show you in a second. But it's just so good to be able to clip your camera on to the outside like that, and it's literally under your nose whenever you want to use it, you know, rather than having to see a photograph opportunity or, you know, a opportunity to take some video footage like I said I use it for, and having to put your bag down, get your camera out and all that nonsense. So this is really cool. To be fair, I'd probably get another one and have it on the right hand strap as well, and then have both cameras there or something, I don't know. But really cool. Like, look into these if you haven't already. Yeah, if it's your thing, reactive sort of photography, it's really good. I think as well, you don't even have to be into reactive photography. It's just sometimes how it works when you're out and about in the landscape, isn't it? Like, things happen so quickly. You want to be able to just go, boosh, take a photograph, you know. Right, I'll show you my video camera now. Right, there we go, we've swapped cameras. The Nikon Z7's filming me now. And yeah, this is the Nikon Z30. Absolute beast of a little video camera, completely and utterly capable stills camera as well. I used to shoot with a Nikon D7200, if you're new to my channel. This is basically like the mirrorless version of that. It is absolutely class. It can do a few things even that my Nikon Z7 Mark 1 cannot do, because it's a little bit more of a modern camera. But yeah, nice and light for my video work. You can see here as well, this little like JJC sort of like lens hood thing. I don't know if you can see that. That's really cool if there's like a little bit of rain when I'm out and about doing my video work. I can just face it in a particular direction away from the rain, and that helps. And on that, on the bottom, as you can see, I hope, is the Peak Design sort of like plate, like tripod plate if you will. That's the one that goes into the Peak Design clip, like I showed you a second ago. And that is that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm off for a nap, hopefully back out with the camera in next week's video. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you on the next adventure. Out!